Hello everyone, welcome to the news desk here in Honolulu, Hawaii. The dust is settling on a pulsating day one. Rich Hagan, Ian Duke here, a cast and crew assembled to bring you the story of day one. Ian, we played 3 rounds of limited, 5 rounds of constructed. Let's kick off. We'll go right back to the start of the day. 480 odd players coming in, I think 465, to sit down and draft the format that you were partly responsible for dreaming up as co-lead developer on Kaladesh. What were you hoping for, and did you get what you hoped for?
Oh man, I was hoping to see some awesome stuff. You know, fundamentally this is a Johnny set, as we call it, a Johnny or Jenny set, and that's after the psychographic of the player who just likes to do cool things and win in just spectacular and crazy ways. So in the limited environment, I was really looking for some of what we endearingly term nonsense to go on, right?
Right.
And we did get to see some of that. The limited rounds were actually awesome. Limited in this set is just a whole lot of fun. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, definitely do. It's one of the best limited formats in recent history for sure. And this morning in the booth, we got to see a whole spectrum of different strategies. We saw some really, really aggressive decks. Paulo Vitor Damo de Rosa and Marcio Carvalho drafted aggressive white-red decks. We saw Craig Wesco with an aggressive black-red deck. But then we also saw some slower, more controlling strategies. We saw Tom Martell, I think, playing a base green, splashing black and red deck that was trying to slow down the game and win with some powerful, legendary creature, Ovia Pashiri. We also saw, some blue-based decks doing some crazy stuff, either slowing, more controlling blue-black decks. And then my favorite deck of the morning was Paul Rietzel's deck.
There's a shock. I wondered whether we were going to get to Paul Rietzel.
It was base blue with some white and some red, a whole bunch of artifacts, and a whole tremendous lot of rares in there as well. And his deck was capable of just some crazy shenanigans. He had multiple of the modules, which work together in interesting ways to kind of create these chain reactions where, boop, I make an energy, I get to put a +1/+1 counter on my creature. That in turn, allows me to make a servo. That artifact entering the battlefield lets me activate my Era of Innovation, which gives me more energy, and the cycle repeats. So there were some crazy, crazy things happening. Lots of Thopters were involved as well.
Yeah, speaking of Thopters, we've chosen a card of the day from Unlimited, and we've gone for a card that is gold, but it comes from an archetype that is perhaps quite a long way down the pick order for a lot of people, blue-red. And since it is the signpost gold card for blue-red, here it is, our card of the day in Limited, Whirler Virtuoso.
Yeah, this is just such an amazing card, as you said, Rich, for the blue-red archetype, which is all about combining energy and some really cool and unique artifacts. And this kind of brings it together in one neat package. It's one of the best energy sinks, as we call them, in the format. One of the best ways to spend your energy, that is, creating Thopter tokens. And then those Thopter tokens can give you synergy with things that care about artifacts. So it really just draws everything about the archetype all together. And in Paul's deck in particular, he had these awesome combos with this card where, again, make a Thopter, that triggers a thing, gives you energy, triggers a thing, gives you +1/+1 counters, loops all the way back around, and just lets you go nuts.
Yeah, I think one of the great tricks that you've managed to pull off here, and this is something that perhaps isn't that obvious to everyone at home in terms of the different rarities within the game. If you made the nuts cards all at common, then we would just see endless loops of nonsense in every game. What makes it special is it is only if you have, let's say, a rare animation module with an uncommon durable handicraft to suddenly start developing this great package. So it isn't going to happen to you every game. And indeed, if you're at Friday Night Magic, maybe once in the evening, there's going to be a match that goes on where you get to see the super cool thing. And it is like, the marriage of flavor, the inventor's fair, if you will, actually coming to fruition on the battlefield, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely true, Rich. That's something that R&D thinks about a lot when we're designing limited formats, is we want to put things in there that feel really special. And part of feeling special is, you don't automatically get to do it every time. It's sort of these things that emerge, once in a blue moon strategies is what we call them.
Right. Well, something you don't get to do that often is go 8-0 at the Pro Tour. Only 2 players managed it today. One of them was Showtime. That, of course, is Shota Yasuoka of Japan. The other one is our player of the day. He's waiting for us across the studio with Brian David Marshall. Here is Hall of Famer Eric Froelich.
It's Fro time here at the not very comfortable chairs, but
The
Eric
bar
Froelich. Yeah, they're bar stools. They go with the vests. 8-0. And, at the start of the day, after you completed your draft, you were not feeling like you were on the brink of an 8-0 day, were you?
No, well, my draft deck wasn't great. It was medium Boros, and I just had surgery on one of my eyes to correct cataracts, which, you know, is something that 60-year-old people get, or if you run really good, you can get it at 30. So here we are. I had surgery on one of my eyes. So like this eye over here, the one I've been patching up, can see really well, like at a distance. So I can't see anything up close, so you can't really play Magic cards with it. And this eye, if I cover this one up, I can't see the big letter on the eye chart. Like that's how bad my vision is. And so I'm trying to play with like my glasses on so that I can, you know, pseudo see, because this one can't see anything up close. And it's just destroying my head trying to focus on these small objects, because this one's like looking through muddied water. My glasses are so strong. It was just, I didn't think I was going to make it through round one. I felt really sick, and my fiance ended up finding what is basically a makeshift eye patch. It didn't look very
eye patch.
it didn't look fancy. It snapped and broke in the middle of the day, and so it just kind of got tied up. But yeah, it allowed me to not pass out and you know, continue through. And you know, I kept saying, if I have to look ridiculous and not feel great, but run fantastic, that's a good trade-off, and I'm okay with that. Just we'll see if I have to keep running back the eye patch even when I'm healthy, though, if this continues.
Right. Now, 8-0 on day one. Is this something you've done in your career before?
How many people have gone? You probably know the answer. You just roll it off the top of your head. We haven't had 8 rounds for even that long, but you know, I have a handful of 6-1s. And then a handful of 7-1s, very few of each. And
which you would sign up for at the beginning of a tournament in a heartbeat, obviously.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone in this tournament who is 7-1 right now, except for maybe the person I played in the last round who got pretty unlucky to lose, is feeling really excited about 7-1. It's such a good record. Like 6-2 feels good. Like you go to sleep at 6-2, you feel good. 5-3, it kind of depends on how your day started. Well, if you closed with a few wins, you're like, yeah, 5-3. But you know, if you started 5-1, you're like, why me? But 8-0, like this is something I've thought about, like, that what are the odds that this will happen in my career, especially now that, you know, I am on the tail end. I've gotten into the Hall of Fame. I've had a great career, but I'm not going to be in my prime ever again. So, and the odds of going 8-0 are just so low. And so, you know, recently, like Owen has done and Luis have done, and people that I've tested with in my life and, you know, kind of played a lot of Magic with on Team Channel Fireball have put up 8-0, and I'm like, well, so they're just, you know, that much better than me. I'm just going to hope to get my 6-2, and, you know, to have a day where you get to run that good, it's awesome. I mean, I hope it continues day 2. Obviously, the wheels can fall off pretty quickly. You got the pain train that can come in at common, so the wheels can fall off real quickly. But yeah, 8-0.
And you know, heading towards a matchup with one of the other members from your Hall of Fame class, we need to get Rich on finding out what Willie Adel's record is so we can see how your Hall of Fame class did against the other Hall of Fame classes.
There's no record Willie can have where our Hall of Fame class did not have a great day. You're like, yeah, he went 0-5. You're like, oh, they went 16-5. That's incredible. Yeah. So I think Willie had a pretty good day, and yeah, our Hall of Fame class, we did it proud. That's
So coming back tomorrow, you're going to draft. You'll probably see the Fro-Time versus Showtime battle here.
It's, you know, the battle of the ages. It's what everyone tunes in for.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what we're tuning in for.
It's Magic versus Michael.
Eric Froelich, get a good night's sleep. Good games tomorrow. Congratulations on a terrific day 1 here at Pro Tour Kaladesh.
I'm pretty sure, Ian, it's actually Magic versus Magic. Right? Otherwise, something's gone horribly wrong. But yes, I did get that reference, basketball fans. All right, so there we are. Fantastic. Congratulations to our player of the day, Eric Froelich. 1 eye, 2 eyes, no eyes. He sees Magic very, very clearly, and he is one of your 2 co-leaders of the tournament. The final results are in. Ian, let's talk about moving to constructed. The deck of the day. So what have you chosen for us? What archetype do you think is particularly relevant here on day 1?
So the deck of the day is Aetherworks Marvel, and it comes in a whole bunch of different varieties, but if you add them all together, it ended up being around 18-20% of the metagame here at the tournament. So this is kind of a representative deck list that we have here. And basically the idea of the deck is you want to generate a whole bunch of energy early in the game through things like glassblowers or woodworkers, woodweavers puzzle knot, and then you dump that energy into an Aetherworks Marvel and use that to find a big Eldrazi like Emrakul or Ulamog. And since the Aetherworks Marvel lets you cast the Eldrazi, you actually get the trigger as well. So you can do something really powerful like gain control of your opponent's next turn or exile some of their permanents.
So was that a deck that you were very much expecting to see plenty of this weekend?
It's definitely on our radar in R&D, expecting it to show up at some level. I think it exceeded our expectations a little bit in terms of the popularity here at the tournament. But in chatting with players, I think one of the big reasons for that, actually, surprisingly, is that the tournament is very large this time. It's the first Pro Tour of the season.
Okay.
We had a lot of players defer their invitations from last Pro Tour to this Pro Tour.
Right.
So we ended up having, almost 500 players here at the tournament. And a lot of players said to me, I just didn't think I was going to win the tournament by doing something fair and just playing like, a Jund mid-range deck or even just a known quantity like red-white vehicles. And so they were actually turning to this Aetherworks Marvel deck, not necessarily because they thought it was hugely better than the rest of their options, but just because they wanted kind of that that Hail Mary kind of non-interactive, I'm just going to go for it and see if it works type of a deck.
Oh, wow. That's a great storyline to follow as the tournament progresses. So that's our deck of the day, Teamer Aetherworks. We've been joined by Brian David Marshall here at the desk. So it's time now to point you towards a match of the day. So something in constructed. What do we reckon? BDM, have you got an answer for us?
I don't really have a full match for you. What I have is a game, the end of
That's
a match.
fine.
Round 6, newly elected Hall of Fame member Yuya Watanabe is playing against Lantern Control innovator Zach Elsick.
Okay. And
Zach Elsick has brought a kind of a crazy blue-red deck to the tournament. Yuya Watanabe is, of course, playing his own kind of Emrakul, Aetherworks Marvel kind of thing. And it's going late in game 3. And Elsick has a Torrential Gearhulk in play. There's a couple of Spell Quellers in play, one with a Spell Queller under it. So all sorts of weird stuff going on. And we see Yuya Watanabe hard cast Emrakul, the Promised End. Fistful of cards for Zach Elsick. What's he going to do? How is this going to play out? And it was just a fascinating interaction watching, because the big thing coming into this tournament was control is dead. And Zach Elsick came with a control deck. And very fascinating to watch that last game play out and see how Emrakul, who is, of course, a big player from the last Pro Tour, is being dealt with here at this tournament.
Great stuff. Well, you've seen the opening of that game 3, with a little tease there for you. Go check that out. That is coming from the end of round 6. And remember, all weekend, we're asking you to take part in this. Find your 30 seconds of awesome using the hashtag #PTTopPlays. So when you see something you love, tweet that to us, PT Top Plays, and we'll gradually find those 30-second clips on Twitch, twitch.tv/magic. Use the clips function. That's new on Twitch, and you can give us all the best of the Pro Tour. But check out that round 6. That is our match of the day. But we have our overall standing. So let's take a look as we close things out here at the end of day 1. 2 perfect records. It is Hall of Famers both. Shota Yasuoka and Eric Froelich. At 7-1, we go from Pierre Dajon of France down to Rob Pisano of the United States. Along the way, names such as Li Shiqian, Pat Cox, Tom Martell, Ben Whites is there, Reed Duke, of course, the number 6 ranked player, and Matt Nass, who loves his constructed deck. He's at 7-1. And tomorrow, BDM, we're going to have a pod 1 that is just dripping with world-class action. Reed Duke, Matt Nass, Pierre Dajon, Eric Froelich, Shota Yasuoka, plus Matteo Mori, 7-1 at his first PT, Ben Whites, David Miani, another Italian, 2 Italians on the top table.
Great showing by the Italians, but they are going to be put to the test against this very experienced draft table. Drafting, at the beginning of day 1, very different than drafting at the top table at the beginning of day 2 at a Pro Tour. You see a concentration of Hall of Famers, possibly future Hall of Famers, one of the best deck designers in the field right now in Matt Nass. Just going to be, steep task ahead for David and Matteo.
Well, it is time for us to take a bow. Day 1 is done. But this is a 3-act drama, so join us again tomorrow for part 2. We'll be here at 9 a.m. Local time, that's noon Pacific, and then wherever you are around the world, check for local listings, as they say. Act 1 is done and dusted. We say farewell from the curtain call of day 1 of Pro Tour Kaladesh.